G'day everyone, I'm here with Bec Potalej of Lioness Performance. Bec is lifting. She's actually a lifter, but she's also head coach and owner of Lioness. And they're competing in the Challengers bracket at the Team Champs. So on day one of the Team Champs, which is only 4 weeks away. So we're excited to have Bec on to talk us through a little bit about our team. If I'm not mistaken, this would be, it's definitely Lioness's first time at Team Champs, but it might be even your first time at Team Champs. Bec, how are you going?
Yes, I am good, thank you. It is my first time at Team Champs, and it is Lioness's first time as well.
Did you come to one in the past, like with strength culture or anything like this when you were there? Or have you been to, you've been to our comps before, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I remember coming like ages ago. One of the first ones when Charlie and Jason competed. I remember that comp, but other than that, I actually haven't been to one since then as well. So I've been to one. We've watched that one. That was a sick comp, but then, since then, nothing.
Cool. All right. And so, we're excited to have you guys. We're excited because you guys are an all-women's fraternity, both in your team, but also in your business. Before we jump into that, I wanted to ask you a little about your background. So, you've done a couple of comps before. I know you took a break from powerlifting more specifically in the past, and you're kind of, obviously back into it and you're back into strength training. What's your background in fitness, in powerlifting, in all things gym?
Yeah, that's a hefty question. So I'll try and condense it down. But I pretty much started off training when I was young. Like I was always growing up playing netball. So that's actually why I took a little bit of a powerlifting hiatus, because I went back to netball. So I was pretty much exercising, as Jamie Smith called it, and I joined up at Strength Culture. And then within the first 12 months of Strength Culture, I pretty much did the whole fell in love with strength training. And got into powerlifting. And then from there, pretty much competed in a few comps. I think I've honestly actually really only competed 3 or 4 times from memory. I'm definitely probably I haven't done many. I'm probably one of the least experienced on the platform. But yeah, from there, pretty much fell in love with it. Started my business, got into coaching. I was already coaching prior to going to Strength Culture, but kind of delved into a lot more of the powerlifting world and strength training world as well. Obviously learned a lot from them as well. But yeah, throughout the years, tossed and turned between netball and powerlifting, strength training, kind of a fair few worlds mixed up there.
Yeah, cool. So not an uncommon origin story, one of, doing sports and, getting into the gym, like you said, exercising. Sorry, my cat is just going nuts on the table and making everything shake.
Yeah, that's right. There's a fly still and it's bothering me.
The animals are bothering us. But yeah, obviously, pretty standard not standard kind of story, but not an uncommon one, right? It's like kind of discovering training instead of exercising, and kind of getting pretty passionate. Like there was a period where it felt like seeing you from an outside, you looked like pretty passionate, pretty into it. You were doing comps, maybe you went to a nationals or whatnot. What kind of was the switch to go back to netball?
I did definitely fell in love with it initially, and that was like a 2.5 year stint pretty much. I was loving it. But then we went into lockdown, so I got a little bit washed up during lockdown because we were working towards nationals pretty much for that whole period. It was like nationals is on, let's train towards it, training through your garage, in your garage solo. Got a little bit grim at times, so then pretty much was training towards that, would come in and out of those periods, and then it was just everyone else would probably know nationals was happening. It was happening, so your training was just getting adjusted to that. So pretty much through that whole period, I got a little bit washed up, didn't really end up enjoying my training towards the end of that COVID period. So that, and then with starting Lioness as well, my whole world pretty much revolved around powerlifting and strength training. So for me, changing up my training was a personal outlet, and then obviously finding enjoyment in training again, which I know a lot of people can relate to. So returning back to netball kind of brought me back to my roots and, gave me back that community element, gave me a sport that enabled me to push in a different kind of way, but also be in a community that didn't force me to be kind of like anybody else other than just be not Coach Bec. Didn't have to kind of build this other community or anything else. It just allowed me to rock up, play a good game, be in a team, have some banter, all those kind of things, which is kind of cool because it's kind of what you're trying to create with Team Champs as well. So that's why we kind of latched on at that opportunity too.
Fuck yeah, I know. I love that. I love that as a story. And everything, like you said, is very relatable. I've had similar things. You mentioned training during lockdown being pretty grim. there were patches. Like I don't think Lioness wasn't open during most of the lockdown, right? And so we were like getting closed and open, closed and open. It was an absolute shit show. And I remember there was a particular afternoon, I think we must have just gotten closed like again, where I was in the most foul mood and I was training in the garage and I just had Adele playing on full blast and you know, a few days later, like Billy did not mention it, but a few days later, Billy kind of mentioned, "Were you listening to Adele a few days ago?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "It was a rough time." Yeah. So the grim training is very relatable, and so is the whole like balancing, you know, like having boundaries and having other places to be instead of just when your whole life is just lifting. Yeah, it's tough. Now you mentioned that. Oh no, what I wanted to ask you first before we kind of go on to that is Lioness, obviously your business, your coaching brand. You know, you started that a couple of years ago now. I think you said it's 2 years old now, and it's an all girls kind of training facility. Talk to us a little bit about who is Lioness and what is it that you guys do, and you know, if anyone's in the Berwick area, obviously they should go see you. But talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the brand we actually like launched like 4 years ago or whatnot now. The goal was always to have a gym, but we always just rented out of, well, obviously COVID. We started before COVID, pretty like within 3 to 4 months of the first lockdown. So started that up. Unfortunately for some, COVID actually did us real good. Like during that period, from a business perspective, our online kind of took off a lot and did a lot for our business. So that community established really well during the COVID period. And then like that helped us towards obviously our goal to wanting to open the gym. So timing for us was really good. You know, we kind of sat on this street that is in Berwick that no one probably else knows because apparently it's the sticks to everybody else. So this Enterprise Avenue street, like we were waiting for a factory to come up in there, and then we snagged one literally at the end of the lockdown, and we kind of just took that risk and hoping that, okay, like surely that's the last one. And yeah, we did it, and obviously we haven't been in lockdown since. So since being in the gym, we're going into our 3rd year now. And it's sick, you know, we're actually like a group style based gym. The way I kind of describe it is like, it's like personal training, but in a group setting. So we're kind of working off similar programs. We're doing it in like group timings and stuff, but we're taking the shitty elements of standard group coaching and we're giving the good stuff. And yeah, the female only community is really sick. We're kind of just introducing females to strength training, making them fall in love with it and that all kind of jazz. It's good.
Yeah, cool. And so it sounds like you know, like a boutique style gym, obviously, but that what I was going to say is like, it's not necessarily a powerlifting gym, right? It's like, it's not necessarily a heavyweight strength gym. Obviously strength is something you're passionate about and something that you obviously want to introduce women to, but it's not particularly a powerlifting gym, is it?
No, it's not. It's not fully focused on powerlifting. Like by all means, obviously we have powerlifters, we have online clients who enjoy competing. And you know, the goal is with our clients for that to be a journey. Like they come in, they learn about strength training and realize how good it is. It's similar to my journey. They come in, they see how it actually all works. They fall in love with it. We host like in-house days, so like testing days and stuff. And once they experience
like
that, we generally see those ones that, they're those ones that love it. They'll go into competing. So, you know, like it's not a powerlifting based gym, but we offer that, and it's like it's a cool pathway for the girls to go into because the reality is some of them actually just enjoy strength training and there's max out days without the stress of competing, but then some of them have that pathway to go there if they enjoy it too, so they get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, cool. And so you mentioned earlier that you know, the team element of things. It's funny, the story that you kind of explained, it's actually kind of similar to mine in the sense of, you know, growing up, I played Aussie rules, I played football, and when I went into lifting, I kind of missed that community aspect, you know, training with your mates, you know, training at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. You don't need to organize it, you know, all your mates are going to be there. You get to talk shit, you get to train hard, you know, afterwards, you know, hang out, maybe go grab a meal or whatever. And then, you know, you're doing that on a routine. I missed that. I was training by myself in a gym. It was kind of boring. And so, I kind of had that in the back of my mind. Like that's kind of part, like there's many inspirations, but that's undoubtedly a part of the inspiration of what Team Champs is. It's trying to introduce this team element where you get to train together. You know, I can only imagine that you and the 4 girls who I'm going to ask about in a second, you may be training together. You've got team sessions, you know, even the other girls in the gym who aren't part of the group or who are competing are, you know, invested maybe, like, I don't know, like I wanted to kind of create that culture. And you said that as soon as, you know, I sent you that invite and asked you if you'd wanted to do Team Champs, you jumped on it. What was it? Tell me about what was it that kind of made you so enthusiastic about sending a group of girls over to our comp?
Yeah, the team element for sure. Like with any of the comps that we do, we try to make it as teamy as possible. So unlike the way that some people do it, it's like, oh, they have this client and, oh, they want to compete. Let's, you know, bring that client towards this pathway or bring them on, like, let's let them into that comp. we will rather say, this is a comp coming up, guys, who wants to do it? And then we kind of bring them in as a team. So like, we'll create that as like a team and we'll go to that comp together. So although like, obviously with Team Champs, their scores are getting combined and it actually is like their results matter as a team. Yes, we treat it as that no matter what the comp is. Like, we've never taken an individual lifter to a comp by themselves, purely because those team elements for us, even from a coaching perspective, are far more enjoyable. Like, I don't know, this probably sounds crude to say, but I don't want to get up on my Sunday just to coach one lifter. I want to coach 5 and I want to have like freaking fun doing all of it. Like, it's so much more fun. So,
Absolutely.
you know, having that team element from day one, like we'll put on extra sessions, like the most recent one but not most recent, last year, like we had every Monday, all the girls in that comp would come in, we'd train together, and it was way more fun because we also know as people that have been through this ourselves, it is like you said, you rock up to train, like powerlifting takes time. It's hard. Like you don't want to be in those sessions all the time by yourself. So knowing that you've got people there to have fun with makes it so much better. So we want to replicate the best parts of powerlifting and give it to our girls. So when we saw that this could happen and then our scores can get combined, it's like, it was a no-brainer. Like and it's a cool opportunity for us. Like, to be honest, we haven't really delved into a competition to this standard. Like, this is going to be new for all of us. I would even say personally, like, this is going to be the biggest comp that I've ever competed in and handled at the same time. So really just throwing myself in the deep end, but like, I got nothing to lose. So, you know, it's a cool way to go about it. It's a really cool opportunity for Lioness to be a part of as well.
Yeah, no, I like what you said there about sending groups to the comps. We do the same thing at TSF. Like, obviously, it's two things, right? So one is you don't want to go to, give up a Sunday to coach one person, but also you don't want to give up every Sunday, like, because there's comps every 2 weeks. Like, if you're going to meets every 2 weeks, it's ridiculous. Whereas it's like, well, instead of sending 2 this week and 2 next week and 2 the week after, let's send 6 to this week. This one, I get 2 weeks off, but it means that those 6 have way more fun because they get to warm up with their mates, and you're more likely to get other people from the gym. Like, naturally, if there's only one lifter from your gym competing at a comp, the other girls in the gym or other guys in the gym, for example, they're not so motivated to spend their Sunday coming out to support that one person. But if you got 6 from the gym competing on the same comp, then like half your gym's going to turn up because they're like, oh, sick. Like, I'm going to go actually support my friends. There's 5 of my friends are competing or 6 of my friends are competing. I'm going to go watch them. So definitely we do exactly the same thing at TSF. And that's part of it as well. I mean, the first comp that we ever did, because we opened in technically May of 2017. The first comp that we sent a lifter out for a comp at all was in November. We sent 15 out to one comp because it was our first one. And we're like, we're sending everyone. So we just had 15 out. So it was a big day. But no, it's definitely a thing. And I think one thing, I've said this before in other episodes, but one thing I'm super fucking pumped for is to see the cohorts of support. You know, like you 4 girls that are going to come out there. I imagine that half of Berwick is going to turn up and be in the crowd and be like fucking cheering for you guys. And it's just going to be such a sick atmosphere because they're going to be, there's this competitive element. They're going to want to see their girls do well. And, all the teams are going to be like that. Like, I'm going to look out into the crowd and I'm going to see the Lioness apparel and I'm going to see the Culture apparel and I'm going to see the RV apparel. And everyone's like going to hopefully be dressed up and maybe have signs and shit. It's just going to be so sick. Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. Tell us about the lifters you've got. So sick. You're lifting, you're competing. Tell us about who the other 3 are and how you pick them and who are they and what's their background, yada, yada.
Yeah. So we've got Lily, Anderson, Bernie, and Olivia. It was pretty simple, to be honest. Olivia has had Team Champs on her mind since, I don't even know, since when she learned about it. She's like, I want to do this. So she was the first caller. She was like, and like, she's had a really big 12 months personally as well. Like, she's dropped a fair few weight classes and stuff. And this is technically going to be like a brand new comp for her. But she pretty much holds the team together. She was the one that kind of gave us that boot that we needed to get us in. So, and like, cool. She upholds every standard within Lioness. So she's like, we actually had the chat as well to be like, if like, cause she has managed a few injuries as well. I was like, if you can't do this, like, you're going to coach. She's got no coaching experience, but she's got the qualities to do it. And that's what matters.
The energy.
So
that's what you want.
She's got the energy. Yeah. So, she was a really important player. And then we've got Bernie, who's our strong mum. She's just a boss. She's done a fair few comps. She did JPS last year, and then she did a couple of barbell babes. She's just strong and she's cool. She's done a few comps. Like, our selection was pretty damn easy. We just kind of went with like, who's done a couple of comps at least? Because again, like, a lot of our lifters, as I said, we've only really been putting girls in comps for the last, 2 years, and only ever like a handful every year because we do go with those big comps. So we don't have a whole bunch of experienced lifters as well. So we kind of just handpick those extra two with the experienced lifters. And then we've got Lily, who's also a coach herself in this area. And she's a strong girl too. So we just thought, chuck them all together and we've got a fun team.
No, I love that. And so I'm looking at your list, and so the four of the girls, you guys actually kind of occupy all the middle weight classes: 60, 67.5, 75, and 82.5. So it's going to be a good group, and you're at least covering the different weight classes, because obviously if you had lifters in the same weight class, you're kind of stepping on each other's toes and stealing points off each other. Do any of those girls work for you, or did you say Lily's just not just, but she's a trainer in the area, but not a lioness?
Yeah, I tried to hire her like 3 times. She knocked me back. So she owns her own business. So she's slaying though. So we get along now. So that's good. Nah, she's my client. I did try to hire her a few times, but no, she's killing it. So, and then, Liv and Bernie are just my clients.
Okay, excellent. And so you are going to be a coach lifter extraordinaire. There's a couple of guys doing this, Matt Crundle, Alex Delaportis, who you know well. What do you think is going to be like? You said this is the biggest comp you've ever done. It's the biggest comp you've ever coached at, and you're going to try to do both at the same time. How do you think you're going to go, and who have you got helping you out?
Well, it could be an absolute shit show, but we're not going with that. It could go so well that everyone's just going to be blown away. You're
just going to be dialed in.
Like, it is
you're
what it is.
You're going to be like in the zone.
Yeah, we're just going to. Like, I love coaching. Like, the girls that we're doing it with, like Lily, Bernie, and Olivia, they're so chill. Like, they handle things very well on their own. Like, very individual, like, well self-regulated athletes. So, like, I know that's going to be fine. Like, it'll be interesting. It'll be a challenge. Like, and if anything, like, I'm only going to learn so much from this experience. So yeah, I'm honestly not too stressed about it. In terms of who's helping us, we haven't really also figured that one out because we've had 2 fall throughs. But it's okay because we're going in super chill. We're having fun. Like, we don't have, huge expectations for this comp. We honestly just want to go in and enjoy this experience and do exactly what we do. And that's just go in and have fun and just be ourselves, which is clear. But yeah, we hopefully have Ant, who's like our head coach, our big dog. But we've just had a couple of things pop up that may make that a little bit difficult at the moment, which she's been at every other comp. So that's probably the biggest challenge we face. It's not the lifters, it's not that, it's not having him there. So yeah, we're still tackling that one head on. So whoever we do bring in, they'll tie the team together and they'll be sick.
No, I love that. And you mentioned as well that, you're not going in with these huge expectations. And I wanted to ask you about that because, you would have seen some of the other interviews that we've done. And, it's a very competitive event. There's a lot of coaches that are putting a lot of pressure on themselves, putting a lot of pressure on their athletes, have high expectations, want to win, they put some of the lifters that are competing at this comp are of such a freaking high standard. And, I imagine that's a little bit different for you guys because, like you said at the start, you're not a powerlifting specific place. You're not pretending to be the best powerlifting coach in Australia. You're not trying to specialize in this thing, but you're going to be part of this comp. And so I kind of want to ask, what are your expectations? What are your goals? It's fair to say you're not going to go in there trying to win the whole thing, but what are your goals? What would you call a good day? What are the girls hoping to get out of the day? What are you hoping to get out of the day? And, where do you see kind of Lioness stacking up and what's the day going to look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question because there's like lots of different ways that we've looked at it and we've discussed it together as a team as well. And I think that the first thing is that just being in a higher standard competition, like we haven't had that experience yet. And I feel like when you have those experiences, it generally leads on to something else. It's like we don't actually know what we're missing out on. So, what's this experience going to offer us? And I think it's like staying open-minded through that process. And knowing, we might friggin' love this and, that leads into other things throughout the year. We might be like, oh, that was, I don't know, so it's just kind of staying open-minded through the process and having fun with the day, sticking kind of true to our values, bringing our community, having fun, having a laugh, but also, we are going to we put our best team forward. We're not putting pressure on ourselves either. I think like collectively as a team, we know that we don't deal well with like immense amounts of pressure. Like we know as individuals and as a team, we're going to do the best for one another and for ourselves. Like, we don't need to go put this pressure on ourselves to be like, yeah, I'm the king of the castle. It's like, hey, I'm going to do the best I can with what we've got right now, and we're going to have a good day, and it's going to be fun. So, that, like, our outcome is just to, like, get in, experience a high-level comp, have that team element, and honestly just have fun, which is kind of like the back end of everything that we do.
No, I love it. And I mean, it's such a level-headed and mature answer, you know, like I actually even think that some of these other coaches might be getting a bit ahead of themselves. It's like, you know, I think I've talked like let's say in the challengers bracket, there's I think 11 or 12 teams, only 4 get promoted. And I think 6 or 7 or even 8 of the teams are saying they want to get promoted. So I'm like, well, fuck, if 8 of you are wanting to be in that top 4 and there's only 4 spots, well, good luck, because someone's going to be disappointed, which is good because you want that competitive nature and you want that cutthroat, like that's what sports is about. But at the same time, you've kind of got to be realistic and going in with a different, not different, but like going in with a realistic mindset and one where it doesn't hinge so heavily on like the exact outcome. Like, of course, you know, if you'll be disappointed if you go 6 from 9 and you miss your PBs, like that's disappointing. But if you put together a good day, you have a crack, who knows, you might actually end up being fairly competitive. And I wanted to say there as well, one thing that Alex de Laporta has said to me in the past is that competing at Team Champs last year was the best thing that they ever did for his business and for the gym and for their community, because it just rallied everyone together, got everyone excited. The culture and the community in the space just like fucking elevated. Do you think there's been any elements of that? Like I'm not fishing for a compliment here, but I guess I'm saying like, you know, between obviously you 4 girls, but even the girls that aren't necessarily competing, is there talk about this? Are there other girls in the gym kind of aware of what's going on, or is it pretty like kind of nuclear in between you 4?
No, there definitely is conversation. Like we have to like also educate a lot of our community because we're not a fully powerlifting gym.
Yeah, like they might not know what powerlifting is.
Yeah, like they you know, they generally do, like 90% of our clientele does. So it's just like educating them about that, the competition as well. But they're G'd about it. Like and the lifters that we've chosen as well have already had impact in the community. Like they've inspired the rest of our community to go compete as well. And, you know, a lot of them have aspirations to compete this year too. So it's a cool thing for them to come experience as well. So there's definitely talk about it, and it's definitely as a lifter as well, it's made me excited to compete again. So me deciding to compete has been a very selfish choice, but I've just run with it because I have seen this comp play out, and I have been washed up for a couple of years. So I'm like, this is going to be a sick comp to return to. But as a team, it's made us all more accountable to our own lifting and more excited to compete as well because we've got each other's back. So 100%, there's so many elements of which it makes powerlifting far more enjoyable for us as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the you know, one thing I often say is the team element of sport is beyond the lifters that are actually competing or that are the actual playing group. You know, oftentimes people say, "Oh, powerlifting is an individual sport, but it requires a team, right? You know, you got a coach and nutritionist and physio, whatever, your family behind you, your partner takes care of you, all this kind of stuff." And people often say, like, powerlifting is a team sport. They say that about every individual sport. You know, a tennis player wins the Australian Open, and in their speech they say, "Oh, you know, thanks to my team really supported me, blah, blah, blah." And then you look at even team sports, like actual team sports, like I use AFL as an example. Someone wins an award, or the team wins an award, you know, they win the premiership and the captain comes up and it says, "Thanks to our team, thanks to the support staff, blah, blah, blah." There's just the you know, it takes a village type of deal. And so while it might only be 4 of you on the platform, it takes the community, because if it was just the 4 of you training in your garages, it'd be a very, very different experience. But the fact that you're all training together and kind of pumping each other up, and you got the other girls in the community that are aware of what's going on. And yeah, it really like kind of sets the tone for that environment, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Now, I wanted to ask you, I don't know how much you've been paying attention to a lot of the banter and the competitive nature of all these other teams, but I don't know if you had a nice thorough look at the lifted list. I wanted to ask you who you thought might be the favorites to take out the challengers bracket. Who are the lifters to watch out for? Are there lifters that you're kind of worried about? You know, you're looking at your own class going, okay, maybe I can win the 75s on the first day at least. What's been your scoping of the competition? Have you done much stalking, or have you kind of trying to stick to your lane, stay in your lane?
No, I've definitely done some stalking for sure.
Okay.
Like I feel like there's probably like, if someone's listening to this, there's perception like, oh, they're just going to have some fun. Like, yeah, it's like, no, we're still relatively competitive. Like,
yeah. You still want to have a crack. Yeah.
We just want to have a crack, but like, we're not going to be like crying if we don't place, you know, like we're just having fun. So, you know, it's, I feel like that mindset is important to have. But in terms of teams, I honestly, like, there's some strong lifters in there, which is sick, which I also think is really cool for even like for the Lioness community to come see like how strong, especially some of the females. Like I remember, like I haven't even been around powerlifting for that long, but like it's probably been like a 5-year stint, right? Like the growth in females and how strong they are now compared to when I first started lifting is just insane. Like they're just so much stronger. So it's just cool to see in general. I obviously have had like a few sessions, like chat a little bit to Deuce, and I just think that she's a massive inspiration. Like she's just so strong, and like she trains real hard. So I think that she deserves first place. Just give it to her. And therefore, like I think strength, like sucking up her ass right now. But no, she's doing like real good. It's really cool to see. But I also think like strength culture, like I obviously have a little bit of a bias towards them. But I think they'll do really well. And I think it's really cool, obviously, that they put a whole female team forward because that actually is their strongest lifters. So I think that's pretty sick. And I did run into Abby at 3PT the other week, and I was training with Alex as well. And he goes, "Do you know how strong Abby is?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, Abby. Like, I don't know." And
I don't know who the fuck you are.
It's again,
you should.
Yeah, I was like, "I'm sorry, Abby." Yeah, I know. And then I was like, and then she benched, and I was like, "Fuck, you're strong." And then I had a look at it. I was like, you're good. So, and then obviously Lena, like she's a sick bitch too. So like they're a cool team. They're strong, and like I just think they're gonna do well. So other than that, like there's good banter amongst the teams. And you know what? I hate to say it, but obviously with all this banter around the chads and stuff, I actually think they're gonna do good. Like I hope they do actually do good because it'll razz some people up and ruffle some feathers. So I actually do think they do good. I hope they do good. Sorry, because I think it'll rustle a couple of people, and I think that'll be sick.
I mean, I love that attitude, and I love that you're obviously a sports person. You know, like you grew up doing sports, like netball. You're competitive, so there is this like competitive side of you, and you are like keeping your eye on the opposition. And obviously, you know, you're a culture girl deep down, and that's kind of where your origins lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw the interview I interviewed a couple of days ago. Bec, the other Bec, you're the other Bec. She's also the other Bec, Chambers, and I kind of asked her about being being a woman coach and being a woman's strength, like a person in strength, you know, a woman in fitness and a woman in strength. And, you know, you mentioned just then as well that the culture have an all girls team, all girl fraternity. I mentioned on that other episode, we've got more girls competing than guys competing. And you even mentioned that the standard of women lifting is just absolutely blown up in the last 5 years. How do you think that impacts like your view of what training was? You know, I imagine when you were younger, when you were a teenager, you probably, I don't know, you tell me, I'm obviously just having a guess or making an assumption, but you know, a lot of girls growing up don't see strength as something that they can do, or strength training as a thing that's accessible for them. You're now literally in the business of bringing strength training to more women, making that accessible. And you're saying you're going to this comp and there's going to be some absolute fucking weapons at this comp. How has this, you know, I don't know. I just want to hear your opinion on what are your thoughts on this and how you kind of see that has changed over the last, 5 years that you've been lifting, but even, your whole life as a growing woman.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is only going to have positive impacts. I think especially on the younger generation. What is really challenging as a coach and being fully surrounded in this world is that you kind of become numb to what is still occurring in the outside world. Like I have friends that are teachers and, that aren't in this world, and they tell me how this, whether it's body image or training or whatnot, strength training, or like, different perspectives on that are still very much cemented in a negative way. Don't strength train, don't lift heavy, or all these kind of things. Like those negative things that we grew up with are still very much there. We are just numb to them now because we have blocked that out. So I think that with the more people that do it, and like with the rapid growth in which it is occurring, it's only going to have a positive influence over the coming years. And I think that as long as it falls in the right hands of the right people, like the right people see it, then hopefully it continues to get better. But it's still an issue. And I think we can't forget that it's still out there. But yeah, I think there's only positive things to come from this, and it's really cool to see more and more people get into it. And I also think what's cool is that more and more people are getting into it at an older age as well. Like you don't very much often see people at 25, 26 plus going to start netball and learn that skill. But you very much see women from that age and beyond going into the gym and start training and start powerlifting. So it's cool in terms of like it attracts people from all ages as well. And that's also cool.
That's a really good point. One that I hadn't considered actually, that women of all ages can kind of start. And like you said, we kind of live in a bit of an echo chamber. You kind of forget, all your mates are lifting, all your girlfriends are lifting. It's just such a normal thing. But, outside of our little bubble, those misconceptions that we grew up with are still pervasive. And there's a quote that's coming to my mind. I don't remember exactly the words, but it's something along the lines of, even a fight that's impossible to win, which it feels like it can be sometimes, it's still worth fighting for. And so, it's if we can try to get more women into the sport or just into strength training in general, even if we might not ever achieve the fact that every woman in the world understands that strength training is not going to be the end of you, it's still worthwhile doing. Look, it's been awesome to talk to you and chat to you and hear your passion and energy, because you've got a lot of it. And I'm looking forward to having Lioness come down to Keith Street and have an absolute crack, and maybe actually give a bit of a shake to some of those other lifters who might be sleeping on Lioness.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be sick and keen to ruffle some feathers, hopefully.
Right, it'll be really fun. All right, Bec, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.